I'm very excited for this episode because this is with two of one of my favorite training partners, Chris Anderson and Kevin MacDougall from Tai Kai. They are one of my favorite partners. There's like a list of people that I really enjoy rolling with, and Kevin and Chris are at the top of that list. They're always kind to me, and anytime I get to see them, I just want to give them a hug because I love them so much. And this was the first time that I've had two guests on at the same time, so I'm a little interested. We tried really hard not to talk over each other. We tried to make it the best audio quality possible, and I hope it came out okay. When I was listening to it, when I was editing it, it sounds pretty decent. There's a couple times where we start talking over each other, but we just love each other so much. We're so excited to talk to each other. Words just start flying out of our mouth. But listen, this episode was really special to me because they both wanted to do it, and they were both so excited to do it. So it was my pleasure to sit down and talk to them. I mean, I would have done it no matter what, podcast or not, because these guys are great. And if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to really appreciate Chris's background. It's hilarious. He came from a business meeting, and he's all up in a suit and tie, and then you got Kevin and I just chilling in our basements. So it was pretty funny. Listen, I love these guys very much, and I hope you enjoy this podcast, and I hope their personalities shine through this podcast. Dude, welcome to the episode of the Cory Cast with my friend Kevin and Chris. What's up, gentlemen?
Just got out of work.
We just said before, we got to be careful about talking over each other. And it's the first thing that we did. This is going to be great. Dude, all right, we'll start with this. Chris, introduce yourself.
My name's Chris Anderson. I think we're talking about being a part of a jiu-jitsu school and being like a good training partner. I think that's kind of like the theme. And, in just a minute, I'm sure you'll have Kevin introduce himself. But I think the first thing I'd like to say is I think many of us have seen the meme or even like the GIF of Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed like hugging each other at the beach. And that's like the image I have in my head of Kevin. He's like my preferred training partner. Or another Carl Weathers reference in The Predator when Arnold and Carl Weathers, they like grab their hands together. That's how I feel about Kevin.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I am touched and honored, and I can't top that, buddy. That nails it. That's exactly right. That is the feeling when Chris shows up to Tai Kai. And Cory, by the way. Cory's right there with him.
You guys are making me cry. That was fucking what an intro, dude. That was amazing.
Just being real.
Dude, I love it. Dude, Kevin, introduce yourself.
I am Kevin MacDougall, and this is my first time ever on a podcast. And so feeling pretty good about that.
Popping that cherry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I'm excited because you guys are two of my favorite training partners. Both brown belts. I haven't trained in a year and a half. I don't even remember anybody's ranks anymore.
It's funny. When I first put the gi back on, I looked at my belt and was like, I think I'm missing a stripe. And I had to ask Chris. I was like, wait, do we have 2 stripes or 3? He's like, I think we have 2. I said, okay. Just want to make sure. So
you should ask Ken. You should ask Ken.
Yeah, I know that's not going to happen.
So
I heard that there was a blue belt test coming up, and I was like, great. I hope I'm on the list because I'd love to be demoted to blue belt.
Dummies aren't the same as real people. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like Kevin, how does it feel to be back doing jiu-jitsu?
It's I say this to a lot of people. I think that it's like my body knows what it wants to do, but it knows it a second late. So I'm always like, oh, I should have done that, or and then it's too late. You're already fighting back from a bad spot. So, but it's coming
What about
back.
you, Chris? Do you think is your cardio there at all?
That's assuming that my cardio was there in the first place, but I would say it's a little bit of a different experience for me in the pod system right now than maybe what Kevin is experiencing, because I'm helping out with the kids classes on Wednesday. And so based on my schedule and the fact that I have one relatively small child and one definitely small child, and a wife who actually likes spending time with me, I try to go to class right after I help out with the kids classes. So I'm there at 6 o'clock on Wednesdays and Mondays. And I went to one Friday class at 6, but it's like me as a brown belt, 4 blue belts, 3 of whom are only training with them within that group of the 3. And then a couple of green, everybody who's below that. So it's a little bit of a different experience right now, but definitely being on the mat, getting to go to classes with Dennis, just being there and moving around has been so much better than watching DVDs in my basement with a grappling dummy.
Yeah.
Is that what you've been doing? Is just watching DVDs and stuff?
That's what I've been doing. I went to one class with a grappling dummy at Tai Kai, and I think they were really great for some people who were they were new people, but I don't know if I would get a lot out of shrimping against a grappling dummy and scissor sweeping a grappling dummy. There are some things that I really wanted to work on. So I was watching those DVDs on those moves and then applying them on the dummy. And then thankfully I've been able to work on them in the pods with the lower belts, which is probably the best way to add in new moves. Do it against people who you're much better than, because you can level yourself up with that move and kind of figure it out while you're not also fighting for your life.
Yeah. I had a similar experience where I was going to classes with the grappling dummies toward the end there, just so that I could start to get back in schedule. You've got to get to class. So get back to that. And then 2, it helps you you're making sure that you're thinking about things that you weren't necessarily remembering to think about. So your instructor is saying, hey, we're going to work on this. You're like, oh yeah, I should have been working on that all along. And it sort of reminded me of, yep, we have to do these things. We have to do it this way. But at the same time, I would be home, and for me, cardio, because my back is bad, I've been using a bike on a trainer in my gym. So I would use the bike, but while I'm on the bike, I'm watching jiu-jitsu videos. So, and then I would hop off the bike and work what I was just watching on the dummy. So I had sort of both things going on.
Smart move. You guys at least maintained it. I just feel like I fell off the face of the earth. I've watched maybe an Instagram video, a 30-second Instagram video of look at that cool technique, and then I'm like, Brittany, come here, let me try it on you. No, get away from me, creep. That's a good point that you said though, Kevin, where you have to get your body back into the schedule again, right? Because it's kind of easy to. I would say it's kind of hard to get back in the groove of things, right? Get back in the rhythm of going to class.
For me, scheduling is always I'm a kind of person who can get stressed easily. So if something's got to move, a lot of times it'll be jujitsu because family can't move. It's got to be, and work can't move. So so carving out time to make sure, no, you're going to class and make it sacred. You're going to do it. So that helps.
Is that how you guys both trained throughout doing jiu-jitsu? You always dedicated, okay, so Monday, Wednesdays are my nights to train. Those are my sacred nights. I feel like, Chris, you go first. Tell me was it a set schedule or was it just whatever I could find time?
Quite frankly, it's changed over the years because when I first started at Tai Kai, I was 25 years old. My wife now was, I think, just my girlfriend at the time, and I could go as much as I wanted. So I think, like many people, I went 4 or 5 times a week when I first started. And as soon as I left Tai Kai in the old location, I was thinking about what I was going to work on tomorrow, the very next day, where now I'm in it for probably the last 10 years or so, having my oldest daughter, Grace, is 10. Ever since I had our first kid, definitely more scheduled. So it's been 2 days a week. If I can get a third day a week, it would be some gravy. But usually for me, pre-COVID, it was Thursday nights helping with the kids' classes and then staying for the adult class, and then Saturday morning helping with the kids' class, and then staying for the no-gi class. So I think once my kids maybe get a little bit older and they don't like me anymore, maybe I'll be able to fit in some additional training. But it's definitely been tough. But I think I've done enough where I continue to get just a little bit better. Like, I don't have huge jumps and there are a lot of plateaus, but I think, I think I'm still making some progress.
Do you think that's kind of on the same par, Kev, for you?
Yeah, I think that it's similar in that it changes. Like when my kids were really little, it was harder to get in, and I was definitely like a 2-day a week for a while, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, I'm going to compete, and it was okay to go 5 times a week or whatever. Oh, okay. So now I'm going 3 or 4 times a week pretty regularly, and then COVID hit. So, but yeah, I would say it's easier on families to have a dedicated set of nights and days that everybody knows, so like it was usually during the week last year before COVID. I'm pretty sure I was a Monday, Wednesday guy, pretty sure. And then I would go on Saturday morning and Sunday for Shark Tank. Like that was it, all those times every week. And it was just a known thing. Like that's what you're going to do. And that way it just helps schedule wise, especially when your kids are into different things and you got to do transportation and you got to help with meals and all that stuff. So
drive them from Connor's in band, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you're driving from there, then you're all
well, not anymore. He drives now. So he's a senior.
Nice.
So
you have like both opposite ends of the spectrum, right? You have
I've been all the way through now, because when my daughter was born, I was just starting Tai Kai.
Our streams crossed.
Yeah.
He started with the kids, and then they got older and he got more freedom, and I started without the kids and had more restrictions, and eventually I'll get there. But I wouldn't trade the time with my kids and wife for anything in the world. So I think whatever you can fit in is, in your training jiu-jitsu, it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm like the step behind Chris. It's like I just have the newborn, right? 11 months, and then Chris, and then Kevin's got. But before I was married with Brittany, I was going like 4 days a week, 5 days a week, because I had no other shit was going on. You know what I mean? So it made life a lot easier. But I like the idea of, all right, so Tuesdays, Thursdays are my dedicated nights. As long as I can schedule it out, and you guys are cool that I'm there, I'm gonna go train those 2 nights a week. And as long as it works for you guys, I'm there.
Yeah.
It's conversation, right?
And you also teach the Thai classes.
Yeah.
You're actually, and do you help with the kids too?
So right now, no, but probably pretty soon if they opened up everything, right? I think Ken just got the word that the kids' classes are going to go back.
April 5th. I think that's the day.
Oh, okay. All right. So I should probably ask Ken if he's going to need help with the kids' class coming up here soon.
I know we said that a few people, they've kind of, I don't want to say dropped out, but they may have had some other things come up and they're not able to help anymore. So he may need some additional helpers. But
yeah, I don't want to leave Kenny hanging, trying to find people for the kids' class. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What made you guys want to even get into jiu-jitsu?
I'll start if you want.
Yeah.
For me, I came to jiu-jitsu with 20 years of formal traditional karate training, and I thought, I'm going to round out my skills. I want to make sure I can strike. So now I want to make sure if someone grabs me or puts me on the ground, I can deal with it. Well, when I got to Tai Kai and started playing around in the MMA class, I realized that is not true. So, I wasn't rounding out. I needed to totally rebuild or build. So that was pretty humbling. And I would say the first 2 years or so, it was a struggle making myself want to go, because I was so I mean, my whole sense of self was destroyed. Who I thought I was is not who I was at all. And jiu-jitsu humbled me and really showed me, yeah, no, you've got some work to do, pal. So I really dreaded going to classes my first 2 years because I was an angry, shattered man from having myself just thrown around and choked out and punched in the face. And yeah, it was rough, but really glad I did it. So I'm glad I stuck with it. And if it weren't for the people, I can't imagine having stayed, because it was hard. The beginning was hard for me because I was coming at it as somebody who was an instructor and was getting my butt kicked on a regular basis.
How long were you doing the karate before you decided to do jiu-jitsu? I
started when I was 14, and so I think it was around 20 years. If I can't remember the year, but it was around 20 years.
Jesus.
So, yeah. And you know what? It was great. And I'm not taking away from anybody else who does karate. That was my experience. Like, for me, I just wasn't prepared for the reality of jiu-jitsu and MMA.
What, did you come from a different martial arts background, Chris? I know Kevin's got a mean sidekick. He also has he's got a mean head kick that comes out of nowhere. But I don't know if you had any prior martial arts before jiu-jitsu.
I did not. And when you said he had a mean sidekick, I thought you were talking about me, like I was his sidekick. And I'm angry. I didn't have any martial arts training. My story actually goes a little bit further back and actually has some kind of weird personal tones to it. But my parents, they kind of separated. They split up when I was 5 years old. And my dad, he lived in another state for like most of my childhood. So the biggest male influence on me was my mom's brother, my Uncle Louis. And my Uncle Louis, he was like a man's man. He was a bodybuilder. He was a male model. He was a bouncer. He was like a security guard for concerts. And he actually got me into football when I was in high school. And I played football for all 4 years and started pretty much, all 4 years, JV and varsity. And then it was 1997. I was a high school senior. Uncle Louis comes to my house with a mat and says, I got to show you something. And one of his security guard buddies had a karate school. And his name is Kurt Sawyer. It was called Samurai Martial Arts or Shogun Martial Arts. And he got my uncle into jiu-jitsu. They actually went to a seminar with Royce and Horion Gracie in the 90s. I think it was in Canada or something. I still have somewhere around my basement, like Royce Gracie's autograph that he gave to my uncle, that my uncle gave to me. And so he started showing me all the moves in my basement. He lived in Rochester, so he would drive in and show me some moves. And then they actually had a couple of like a seminar, and then they started, I think they call it like Ishin Jitsu. It was like a mixture of karate and jiu-jitsu, but the moves are the same as what we're doing now. It was like shrimping and bridging. And so I went to that school in Rochester, did a few classes, and then I went to college and I stopped doing jiu-jitsu altogether. And got into other things. I played a lot of basketball and focused on my studies, whatever. And then once I graduated, I lived in New Jersey for a little while. I came back to Syracuse and I was like, I missed that jiu-jitsu stuff that I was doing with Uncle Louis. And then my current wife, Michelle, she was like, oh, let's watch some UFC.
Yeah, current wife, dude.
Current wife.
Kevin and I are like trying not to laugh.
My only wife. But, we went through different stages. It was girlfriend, fiance, my wife. We watched the UFC, Royce Gracie versus Matt Hughes. And like Royce got beat up. He got destroyed. But I was like, man, I want to get doing this again. So I looked up jiu-jitsu places in the area. I found Tai Kai. I told Ken, I have a little bit experience. And I think it was like 2005 or 2006. I started and was deep into it right away and have been doing it since.
Dude, props to Uncle Louis. With a name like Uncle Louie, you know he's doing some man shit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. That is
And
awesome.
It's funny because he stopped doing it because he got some bad knees, and I keep going, and I think I could probably do a pretty mean job on him right now. But
oh, finally the tables have turned.
The tables.
Yeah.
So you were talking about earlier in the podcast that you guys want to talk about why you guys like what makes such a great partner in jiu-jitsu, right? Like Chris, you're smiling so hard. You're ready to answer this question.
So I don't know if this is exactly how it went down. Human memory isn't 100% correct, but I recall I was in Wegmans on Route 31, and I was just getting a few items, and there was this guy ahead of me who had no hair and looked familiar, and I was like, "Hey, man, do you train at Tai Kai?" And it was Kevin MacDougall. And we were just there at Wegmans, kind of making the connections. And we realized that we live like 2 swerves away from each other in Liverpool. And if anyone knows the neighborhoods in the clay part of Liverpool, they're like all these like little circles connected. So, I could walk or run over to Kevin's house. So we live pretty close, and we just started like doing some additional training in each other's basements. And, it started all from a meeting in Wegmans. And I think, from being in close proximity, we both work in education. I think we probably are both really good learners and approach jiu-jitsu kind of in a similar way. Kevin, feel free to agree or disagree, but I think that sometimes the people who get really good at jiu-jitsu are the people who listen and can apply the techniques versus like the people who are just like gargantuan behemoths who are going to power bomb you. So
yeah, I think that's true. I think what you need both, like you need to be able to listen and take it in, and then you need to be able to grind it out and deal with what comes when it doesn't work, because it's not going to work the first few times. And having a good partner that you can trust allows you to go, you know what? I'm going to try this thing I just learned. And if it doesn't work, I know he's not going to kill me. I know it'll be okay. And yeah, I'll have to tap and it's going to hurt, but I can trust them I don't have to win all the time. He's not going to walk away thinking less of me that he tapped me, So I think that having a group of partners you can trust helps you to learn and actually apply what you're learning.
That is very well said, especially when you partner with somebody and when you roll with like a new guy and they get really tense and they like grunt a lot, you can kind of feel them you're minutes away from getting your arm broken or something,
Yep.
Where when I roll with like either one of you guys, we can go at a quicker pace. And I know at the end, if you guys catch me in a heel hook, my ankle isn't going to get torn to shreds. You know what I mean? Like it's also a different level of trust. Maybe it comes with experience, but I've even seen some cases too, where like a white belt can be nice to you. It's just them trying to learn how to control their body. Right.
Yep.
But do you think that's why you guys have such a strong bromance? Is because you guys trust each other?
Well, we're both, sexy beasts probably plays into it. But
true.
I mean, the thing I was going to add before was that one of the things that I like about training with Kevin is that his technique is good, and then also he gives appropriate feedback when we're learning new moves or we're drilling. So if we're putting on like a new choke or a variation of a choke that we learned, and he's like, nope, don't feel it. You're doing something wrong. He might even know the adjustment. So I think some guys, they won't tell you like, no, you're not doing it right. Or like, they are just in it for themselves to get the move right for themselves. So, quite frankly, because of COVID and because of schedules, I don't think Kevin and I have been training together as much as we were years ago. But I mean, I still have that same feeling of excitement when, I see Kevin at Tai Kai And when those Saturday classes when we were both there and training, they were awesome.
Yep.
It's the Carl Weathers, you son of a bitch handshake when you see Kevin. I love it. You guys have like a bromance like Mike and I do.
Yes,
It's
I
beautiful.
think that's true. I think that we have these bro couples throughout the gym.
Well,
But that's a good
there were
thing.
times where not only did we train together, but like
Right.
we would go over
families
to
hang
each
out.
other's houses and
Yeah.
watch the UFC, or
Yeah.
Kevin introduced me to this game where you it's like Cards Against Humanity, but you use accents, and
Oh yeah,
we played it once and it was hilarious and super fun. And
that's great.
we drove
What is
out
the name
together.
of that game?
I'm trying to remember what that is. Is that Boulder? No.
It's
Connor, what's the name of the game with the accents? Utter nonsense.
Utter nonsense.
Utter
I'm writing
nonsense.
that down.
There's a family edition, and there is a definitely not family edition.
I have the not family edition.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's really fun when you play that with your in-laws, and
Oh,
and your mother-in-law draws the accent orgasm.
yes.
Yeah, no, that's not.
Dude.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like that, actually, Cory.
That was my first date with Brittany's parents. We played Cards Against Humanity.
Oh boy,
This is the worst first time meeting your girlfriend's dad when he pulls up the card Barack Obama's dick. Like you don't like that's not the card. You're like, oh God, please somebody get me out of here.
Well, it looks like I can't share the link to this podcast with my mom. So
Chris, I saw you talking with your friends on that game. We have that game. You should come over and play sometime.
that game is very fun, but you probably don't want to play it with super sensitive people. I have played with people who have cried before.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
But you gotta have a good sense of humor if you want to play it.
yeah.
Thankfully, Kevin and I do.
100%. So, all right. So back to jiu-jitsu. Here you go. What do you guys think makes a great gym? Is it the atmosphere, the location, the people that train it? And I kind of stole this one from Ben. He asked this question on Facebook not too long ago.
That's a tough
But I thought it was a
one.
great question.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a combination of the atmosphere. That's got to be all the other things, like all the skills, all the technical aspects. If the atmosphere isn't right, none of that's going to matter. You've got to be able to, as I said, you've got to be able to trust each other, right? And you've got to have some genuine connection with each other. You're going to lose, and you're going to lose a lot. So if the atmosphere is wrong, that's only going to breed resentment and anger. So I think the atmosphere is really important, but you really do have to have instructors who are there not to better themselves, but to better their students.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes that can be really hard. I think we are very lucky that when our instructors are in front of us or with us, they are there for us in that moment, even though they are trying to get better as well.
Yep.
So I think that's huge. I think those two things for me, those are primary. You have to have a strong team-oriented, friendly atmosphere and instructors who are really looking out for the growth of the athletes, of the students.
Yep. 100%.
I think a lot of it depends on what you want to get out of jiu-jitsu. And this could be a controversial subject because I know there are some people who think, if you're going to train to jiu-jitsu, you should do it to be a competitor and, prove that your abilities are as strong as possible in competition against other people who are trying to do the same. And there are schools out there. I'm not sure if either of you are familiar with the Daisy Fresh series on YouTube, but it's a small school in the Midwest. I forget the guy who's the owner, but they go like it's like a tournament every round, all rounds. And for some people who want to, win, the IBJJF or, whatever tournament it is, those might be a better fit for some people, those types of schools where, I think maybe Kevin and I we might appreciate Tai Kai because there's a good mixture. If you want to compete, there's that opportunity. But if you do it just because you love the experience, you can do that too. And certainly, I am a person who enjoys variety and balance in my life, and jiu-jitsu is one of those things. So I like the fact that there is good technique that's being taught. You can have that camaraderie, and you could do it with people who are competing in big tournaments, and then, soccer moms and teachers and lawyers and everybody else from the rest of the, every walk of society.
Yeah, that's for me personally, it's just the people that are there that are like, it could be like, even if it was a purple belt teaching, like, I don't really care about that. For me, it's more the quality of people are, I mean, when you get to a school of the size of Tai Kai, where it's huge, right? We always have new people circulating in and out, but the ones that stay there are like really great people that I've grown to love, that I've known for so long. And to me, I think that's important. I mean, obviously quality teaching is big too, but like you said, Chris, having a good mixture of, do you want to compete, or do you just want to hang out with your friends and get in good shape and learn some cool shit? Like there's a group and there's a class for that environment, I'll drive 45 minutes for that,
Right. Yep.
I gotta tell you, I Kevin and I have both we've both done some competing, not nearly as much as a lot of other people, but I had I did not have a great experience the times that I've tried it.
Really?
So I don't know if that played a role in the fact that I don't compete more, but the first competition I did, it was back when Dan Koval was training and teaching at our school. I had done a number of privates with Dan in addition to regular training. And he was like, oh, there's a tournament coming up in Connecticut. It's a grappler's quest. I'm going to do it. I think you should do it as well. And he's like, I'll coach you. We'll get you all prepped. So, I got on a diet, got to the weight class I wanted to be. Dan and I drove out there. Chris Roach competed at the same tournament. And
Chris Roach was like a blue belt. You guys were like blue belts.
He had, maybe he was a blue or purple. I was a blue belt, I think, at the time. Damn. And so I went into my first match, and I was nervous, first time. And I was getting dehydrated just by waiting. So I was drinking water and trying to hydrate. And I start my match. I take the guy down. I get into mount. I'm waiting for the ref to give me my points. The ref's like looking over at some chick in spandex. So then I look over at Dan to be like, hey, coach, can you help me out here? Dan's gone. He got called to go to his competition, to his match. So I'm there by myself in mount thinking, okay, I got this. I'm going to win this match. In the meantime, the guy I'm grappling has like 3 coaches, one of them speaking in Portuguese, the other in English. And the next thing I know, he gets me off of him. He gets me in an arm bar, but I get out, and the guy beat me like by a point. And, it just was, it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. Then my next match, I think same thing. Dan was still competing with someone else. So I went into that one on my own, didn't perform well. And then I had no-gi match, and there was like a young guy. He was probably like 19. He was like he was pretty talented. And then there was a pro MMA fighter. I think his name was like Kit Cope. He was in my division. So yeah, that didn't go the way I thought it was. So and then after that, I didn't really have anyone like push me or mentor me, serve as a mentor and say, hey, get back into it, get it back on the horse. You got the talent. You probably will do well. But so I just went in the, work on developing the art for myself and get as best as I can in the school.
You're in some deep shit when you're in a tournament and you hear some guy yelling in Portuguese at your opponent. That's when you know you're in deep shit, dude. Well, that Brazilian is gonna mess you up. And he only won by a point, Chris. So that's like considered a win, I think.
Well, I remember afterwards Chris Roach saying, "Oh, yeah, I saw you start your match. that was a really nice takedown. And then like he didn't see anything else.
You're like, Chris, no, I didn't have any takedowns. He took me down. Shit.
I did actually take the guy down, but I took him down, got the mount, but then I just froze up and the nerves got to me or whatever happened. So, but
I'll tell you, I had some good competition experiences, and I mean, not to glow and do the further the bromance, but it has a lot to do with Chris, because when we were getting ready for my first tournament, we partnered up a lot, and we were drilling a lot up leading up to that. And so I had some very successful matches in my first tournament. It was a small tournament. And then a few years later, I competed again. I like it. I just feel that you need to, and I've done well. Like, I've been proud of my tournament experience. I feel like if you're going to compete, you've got to devote yourself to it. Like, you've got to be serious about it and get there, train hard. Because if I'm going to put Tai Kai on the mat, I want to do a good job. I don't want to just roll the dice. So because sometimes schedule can be a difficult thing to make sure I'm there as consistently as I think I would want to be if I'm going to compete. That held me back. And anybody who knows me knows my spine is always a bit of an issue. So training at that level can be problematic. So although I enjoy competition, I enjoy the way that it definitely, you when you compete, your game jumps. Like, you see a difference between who you were before you started getting ready for the competition and who you are after the competition. You're better. Like, you're clearly better than you were. But it's just those things. Putting the time in can be tough, and dealing with my back. And I know some people would be like, just deal with it. It's just pain. Just deal with it. I have other things I like to do too. And if I can't do those things, I'm not happy. So,
yeah. And also it comes into like longevity of the sport. Like, you guys want to do this for the rest of your life, myself included. Like, you guys want to be 70 and still able to do a round or two. You know what I mean? You don't want to be. I just don't want to fall into the common trend where it's like, oh, my knee's fucked up, can't. My knees messed up, never rolling again. I don't want to be that kind of person. So when like an injury happens, I'm always like, oh, God damn it. Now I got to take care of my knee for 6 weeks. God damn it. But that's like yours, like with the spine, that's a serious thing. You don't want to mess up your spine.
No. I got to get it checked out. It's time. It won't go away. So it's gotta.
What kind of injuries have you guys all gotten from jiu-jitsu?
For me, it's definitely just the bulging discs. I haven't a couple of like sprains and my toe is all messed up. I can't kneel and I can't lunge and have my toe do that. I just can't. My big toe can't. So my spine and my toe, I'd say those are my big ones. How about you, Chris?
I got kneed in the nuts a few times, but I've been pretty fortunate. I've been injured, but always doing other things. So I tore my groin playing flag football. I tore my lateral meniscus playing basketball. I broke my nose in high school playing football. And then like a few years ago, I had that repaired. So I had to take a break from jiu-jitsu for a few months. But I think I've been pretty lucky not sustaining any major injuries at jiu-jitsu.
Probably my worst jiu-jitsu injury was a sprained shoulder way back, and it was freaky. It was just we were doing wall drills during MMA class, and it was just the cheese grater takedown, and as I hit the floor, that shoulder just. It was really painful, horrifically painful. And for a few weeks, I couldn't do anything with it. But I forgot about that. That was years and years ago.
I actually just remembered that in addition to being kneed in the nuts a bunch of times, I was knocked into another dimension when Chris Roach put his bare chest on my face. He doesn't wear a rash guard. and I don't know where he took me to, but it was just definitely not planet Earth. So
It's like I always tell Chris Roach, I tell him the same joke. He probably is sick of hearing it, but it's like the scene in was it Along Came Polly when he was playing basketball, and that giant dude came up and like rubbed on his face, and then came down and got all in his mouth. That's like when you roll with Chris Roach.
yeah, I love Chris Roach is one of the best. Like, I think he even said this, and it's like some people probably say this and it's not true, but he rolls like at the level, I think both pace and technique of the person he is rolling with.
Yep.
So
he's great at that.
I don't think I ever have rolled with him where he like used his massive strength or his magical hair power against me. Like he just is a great big black belt to roll, and he's got so many gears.
That's a good way to put Chris Roach's grappling style. He's very he's like in a cruise control when he grapples with you. He's like, all right, how's Kevin grappling today? Is he low key? All right, I'll go low key. Oh, he's high energy? All right, get out of my jacket, Kevin. What kind of things do you guys do to stay in shape for jiu-jitsu? Or do you guys do anything other than jiu-jitsu?
I do a lot of training. I've got a gym at home, so I pretty much work out in the morning. Typically I will work out in the morning every day, and then if I try to do some sort of martial arts at night, so that way I can have both. Like, so I'll do conditioning in the morning, and then do like kick the bag, or do some bag work and some ground drills if I'm home, or go to the gym and do jiu-jitsu. But for me, it's like I'll do 2 days of upper body push, 2 days of upper body pull, and along with that, there'll be legs on both of those days as well. And like I said, I'll use the bike a lot and hit the bag a lot.
Do you think the bike is best to improve your jiu-jitsu cardio?
I used to love to run, but my back hates to run now. So the bike is a nice, no impact way of getting similar. It's not the same. It is definitely not the same. But I do think when you're like, I'll do intervals on the bike, and so I'll really spike my heart rate, but then you have to keep going. So that does feel somewhat like you feel when you're doing jiu-jitsu. It just doesn't have that impact of running is so beneficial. I know that it's also detrimental, but it's super beneficial too. And you don't get that on the bike.
What about you, Chris? Do you do something to supplement your cardio?
Yeah, I've always been someone who just loves being active, and certainly jiu-jitsu is a part of that. And I haven't really found anything that really replicates the same type of like cardio system as actually doing jiu-jitsu. So, I play before COVID, I played a ton of basketball. So I fortunately work at a location where there's a great fitness facility. So I'd be playing 2 or 3 times a week, full court, 5-on-5. I got a pretty good crossover, pretty good 3-point shot. So, I enjoy it. I completely dislike distance running because I get very bored. So I could play basketball for like 3 hours, and I was doing that. But similar to Kevin, I have some good equipment at home. I have a power half rack. So, I lift weights, I squat, I bench press, I deadlift. I do a lot of pull-ups. I now have an elliptical. So I've been doing that while watching the Cory cast on YouTube. At least I did recently when you put that one up. But I also am very fortunate. I have some pretty nice jiu-jitsu mats in my basement. So I have some like, I don't know, 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch Dolomer mats. I'm looking at, they're like, I don't know, like 20 feet by 15 feet. So, I'll do some stuff with the grappling dummies or some jiu-jitsu type of workout in my basement too.
That's cool. I think that's my next move. Get some mats in my basement. Be able to do some jiu-jitsu at home.
Yeah. It's not the same, but if you're doing push-ups and burpees, and then you jump on the dummy and do some stuff, and then do push-ups and burpees, you're getting there. You're getting close.
Right.
I gotta admit, I'm not a big strength and cardio guy in jiu-jitsu. I'm like rely on the technique as much as I possibly can. Well, at least I hope I feel that way about myself. I mean, as people who have rolled with me, you can tell me if I'm completely way off base and just living a delusional life. But I think doing the grappling dummy and adding in the techniques is beneficial, just as beneficial as the cardio aspect.
Absolutely, because if you get tired or if you get behind, like I was saying earlier, if you are if you make a mistake, you're going to get tired. So if you're in good position more often, you don't need the conditioning that you would otherwise need. I noticed that when I get better, it's harder for me to get a workout during rolling because it's even if my conditioning hasn't changed, it's just like, oh, I don't have to work as hard because I'm always where I want to be. So I don't have to escape. I don't have to get up off the bottom. I don't have to whatever, and I'm not having to fight off and frame constantly and pull on grips all the time. You don't get as tired.
Dude, that's a solid point. I never thought of that actually. I feel like I blow my load when I grapple with people sometimes. I'm just like 100%. Get out of position, get out of here, do this thing. And then Kevin's like, nah, dude, just do shit the right way and you won't be tired.
Well, I think, Kevin and I are both in our 40s. So I think at some point we're like, okay, let's try to be efficient because, we're not as young as we used to be. But I definitely feel like recently using the grappling dummy, like I realized where I would like to go and then like where I'd get like stopped by people. And like recently I was working on a triangle from the back. So it's just like one more tool on your Swiss Army knife of jiu-jitsu moves, which in some ways can help with your cardio because rather than using muscle, you use this new move when you get in that tricky situation that in the past you just freak out in.
Yeah. Right. If you know a transition, it's not hard work to do it.
Right. You just do the technique correctly and you won't have to get so gassed quickly.
That's the theory.
Do you guys prefer gi or no gi?
Oh man. I've never been able to answer that question. I love no gi and I really do enjoy the gi. I think that I love to attack in gi because I have those grips to anchor down. I'm not a big guy, so I like to be able to anchor down and use the grips to keep me on. But with no-gi, if I have to escape, I would rather be no-gi to get out of the bottom, to get off the bottom, and to get out of chokes and arm bars. So that's the only thing I can say. If I'm attacking, I'd rather have a gi. If I'm escaping and defending, I'd rather be no-gi. And you can't really choose in that moment.
Yeah. Chris is like pondering over there. He's
like, I think my ultimate preference is no-gi, just like completely clothesless. But
wait, whoa, hold on. No-gi, that still means a rash guard and shorts, Chris. Are you saying nothing on at all?
No-gi, yeah.
Like dudes, like old Greek Roman wrestlers, right? I think they grappled butt naked.
I think
it doesn't just have to be dudes. There's everything in between. We have to be inclusive, Cory.
Yeah, right.
But to give you an honest answer, at one point I was going through a spider guard phase and I preferred gi at that point. But I think I'm pretty 50-50 where I like both now. I think there are things I know I need to work on in both. And like Kevin said, the grips are different. I feel like I rely heavily on close guard and spider guard, and my butterfly guard still needs a lot of work. And so doing that in gi and no gi, I can do butterfly in both, but they're just slightly different. So, I don't really personally have a preference.
That's such a hard question. Do you prefer?
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you. What do you think?
If I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I'm like I'm all good. If we're doing it in the pajamas, cool. If we're doing it in shorts and t-shirt, that's cool too. Are we doing jiu-jitsu and I'm hanging out with my friends? Cool. That's a no-brainer. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But I guess I would say no-gi because then if it was in the streets, but I mean, like how many
Not around here.
Use the term in the streets. I've never once have I been in a situation where I've had to.
I agree, and I think that too. Like stop saying in the streets because
Yeah. It hasn't
I'm
happened to me yet.
46 years old. I'm not going to have a street fight.
Yeah.
And then there's the fact that we live in central New York, and most of the year we're wearing jackets and jeans. So that looks a lot more like a gi than it does a rash guard and shorts.
Yep. Who's getting collar choked in that?
Yeah. And I'm looking at your hoodie thinking it looks like somebody already ripped your hood off.
Yep, just a little bit.
Yeah.
No, so, I couldn't fit my large ass head through this hoodie.
So is that what it was?
Yep, 100%. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Do you guys have jujitsu pet peeves?
Jujitsu pet peeves.
Like if somebody doesn't cut their nails, like somebody.
I was gonna say smells and hygiene would be the biggest one.
Biggest one. We're pretty lucky at Tai Kai. There's not a lot of sticky magoos over there.
No, not typically. But boy, when it happens, whoo. But I guess the other thing I would say is just like people who can't control their emotions and really like making it awkward when they win or lose. Like that, I think we've got to be better. But again, I think we're lucky at Tai Kai. It's only very rare that I see any of that. It's usually newer people.
Yeah.
So I'd say those are my big ones.
Chris, you're pondering over there.
Yeah, no, I'm really thinking about this one. I think my biggest pet peeve was kind of rectified. No latch on one of the bathroom stalls. Yeah. That maybe it didn't get rectified. I haven't ventured into the toilet area since coming back in the pods, but I think you guys kind of hit the common ones. People who don't, they smell or they don't cut their nails, or every now and then you'll get someone who comes in and they have a bad attitude. But maybe a little bit more on something I said earlier. Having your expectations placed on like other members, right? So if you think that the place should be run a certain way, or the members have to act a certain way because that's the way you want it to be, I think everybody should be able to have that choice for themselves. And, if this was like a military-based school or like an MMA factory, it might be different, but I think we have a really good balance, and I like that balance.
That very well said, dude. I would say that would be my pet peeve too. Next is somebody who doesn't cut their toenails or smells like Dookie. Somebody who has very weird expectations of what they think the gym should be, right? I mean, I don't know. We have such a great mix of people at Tai Kai, and that's what makes me want to. We have people who competed in UFC, people who competed in Bellator. We have soccer moms. We have the amateur dude that took 2 fights and then never wanted to do it. So we have like this like beautiful mixture of people. There's that quote that's online that's like the jiu-jitsu match are the one places where a police officer can grapple with a criminal and they all get along just fine. That's what I appreciate about, because our Tai Kai is like that perfect example of that mixture. Not to get all like foo-foo and positivity, but that's why I love Tai Kai for so long.
A lot of credit has to go to Ken.
What's that?
A lot of credit has to go to Ken. He's he's developed a good atmosphere, and he brings in people that need jiu-jitsu in their life. He keeps people who want jiu-jitsu in their life, and I think everybody has made connections with certain instructors, and I got pretty much my full set of foundation, my full jiu-jitsu foundation from Ken. And then Dennis, he's played a big role, and he's like one of the easiest guys to get along with ever. So I think between the two of them, it's definitely had a positive impact on me, and I know other instructors at Tai Kai have had that positive impact on other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree. That I love the fact that you have different. If you're looking for the gym to be a certain way, just go to a different class and you'll find it's a slightly different vibe, and that's okay. That's fine. And we all have different goals, and we have different reasons why we're there, and that's fine. That's absolutely okay. But you're right. Don't put that on other people.
I love too, Kevin. You said each class, like if you want something a certain, go to that instructor's class, because every instructor teaches class so much different. It's like, what do you want to get out of jiu-jitsu? Do you want to be a competitor? Do you just want to know self-defense? Do you just want to grapple and hang out with your dudes and learn some cool shit? Like, there's all these things that it's funny, because I think everybody at Tai Kai has those few instructors that influence them in their game strongly, right? Like, how many people have come through the noon class and Ben has affected their game? You know,
Right.
like
That's one of my favorite things to do.
Structure to them
In the summer as a teacher.
People, yeah, the people that did MMA for Dennis have a certain, like, dude, you said cheese grater. I was like, Dennis, I remember that. It's been a minute, but like everybody there has that foundation laid by other teachers, which is, oh man, it's such a beautiful thing.
One of my favorite things to do in the summer is I get to go to the noon class because I'm a teacher. So I can go to the noon class, and then all week, I can go to like almost every class. So I see a lot of different instructors. And I'm telling you, yeah, the vibe is different because you've got different people and the instructors are different. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think it's awesome. I love that. I absolutely love that. I think that it's so powerful to be able to do that.
Yeah, and they're all good at jujitsu. Like they all, yeah. And they have like their go-tos, but they know a whole bunch of other stuff. Like every instructor in every class, they just have such a great repertoire. And you know, the things that work for Ken might be different than the things that work for Dennis, but they still know like a whole bunch of the same stuff that overlap and can impart that on members like Kevin and I and you, Cory. So,
yep, 100%. 100%. When you guys think of, like, the first two instructors I think of is obviously Sifu, because Muay Thai, and Dennis. Those were like the first two instrumental instructors that probably laid the foundation for my jiu-jitsu game. Those two. I mean, Sifu, you know, more Muay Thai, but his jiu-jitsu game's still on point too.
Right.
Kevin's freaking like 69 and 68, and he's still grappling. That's goals right there.
Yeah.
And that's an aspiration. Grapple. That's a hard round when you roll with Sifu. You know? Damn.
Yeah.
So what would be a piece of advice you would give to somebody who is just taking jiu-jitsu for the first time? First day of class, what is a tip or trick you'd give them? Chris, you go first.
I'm not giving any first day people any tips. Like no tricks or tips, right? Just basic. I'm not saying I'm not helping them, but no tricks. Like your first day is not the day for tricks, right? Your first day is to learn the basics. And it's, you know, this question, Cory, is a good one because like I said before, there are a lot of like lower belts in the pods now. And the thing that I'm noticing now that I would tell them is use your arms less, right? So I've been getting in mount and everybody's just trying to push me off of them, right? And they're not getting on their side and they're not using their body and they're not going for an upa. They're just pushing with their arms in like every direction they can. And I think that's the best advice. Use your arms less and use the technique that you just were taught.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think I would be a little more general. That's a great advice, though.
I thought you were going to say generous. I thought you were going to just say, I would be a little kinder to them.
Nope. I think, first of all, new people get nothing. No, you gotta come through the ringer like the rest of us. But I do think that, you know, I would say, listen, you've got to make sure you're breathing. And I know that sounds stupid, but you've got to make sure that you're not holding your breath when you're exerting yourself. You've got to breathe. During class, don't zone out. You've got to be listening. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing, because I see people doing it. They're looking around and they're sometimes they're sizing up the room because they know they're going to roll. And no, listen, watch the instructor, really pay attention to what he's saying or she, and breathe when you're rolling and be ready to tap. It's okay. We all tap. Like, I think that one of the most powerful things we could do for new people is sit them down and have upper belts roll together. Have them watch how it goes. We're laughing. We're having fun. We're singing sometimes. And we get tapped out and we're like, oh man, that was great. Slap hands, bump fist, go again. Everything's fine. It is not kill or be killed. That's not what this is about. You've gotta be okay with the flow, with just You've got to understand that you can't learn if you're in a state of fear. You can't learn if you're in a state of emergency. So you've got to, and I think they need to see that. They need to see that this place isn't about killing each other, even though the techniques are designed to kill each other.
Even though we're training to kind of choke and kill each other, that's not what this place is for.
It's not why we're here.
It's funny you said breathing, because I use the same line in class when Friday's the fundamental class, the fundamental Tai class. So I do a lot of basic stuff. I see a lot of new faces in the Friday class. I always say the same line. I just say, breathe out or else you're going to shit your pants when you throw punches. It always gets people to laugh, and I feel bad if you've taken my class 30 times when I say that same line. But like when you're striking or even when you're grappling, if you're not breathing out as you're supposed, you're gonna get winded way quicker, and you might poop your pants. It's happened before, but I'm just saying, please be careful. That's all. That's it, dude.
That's good advice.
This might be a good advertisement for anyone who's constipated. If you are constipated, come to jiu-jitsu. It serves as a great laxative for me.
Especially if Chris Roach is on Neon Belly.
Well, actually, Black Belt Steve went Neon Belly on me during my brown belt test.
And it turned into a brown belt test.
It almost turned into a brown pants test.
But
that was real close.
Chris, congratulations on your brown belt and brown pants. Congratulations. Dude, this was a lot of fun. This was sweet.
Yeah.
Yes, at the same time, two of my favorite jiu-jitsu partners. This is sweet.
Back at you.
I had a lot of fun.
Me too.
Thank you for having us on.
Heck yeah. Do you guys should come on more often, or do your own individual? You guys always have an open invite. I love you guys.
Cool. Awesome.
I didn't feel like we talked over each other too much. I thought it was a great mix.
I think so.
I think we were kind to each other, and when we saw someone else starting to speak, we just pulled it back. Yeah, I think it was good.
Guys, I appreciate you. Thanks for doing this.
Are you putting
thanks for having
on
us.
YouTube?
It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on Spotify, all your podcast links. It'll be kind of a while until this one drops, to be honest. But when it drops, I'll send you guys the info. So
Can you edit me to look cooler? Because I probably should have just taken my work clothes off and just done this in my t-shirt. Or
man.
So cool.
Oh, it's awesome.
And the Mortal Kombat background. I love every bit of this. This whole screen. Kevin, this is great.
All right, good. Well, again, thanks for having us on. Can't wait to see if anybody listens to this.
It was like a big commercial for Tai Kai. You realize that?